Starting recording. All right, thank you guys for joining me. This one I'm going to go over kind of as tangential to one the other day, where I discussed the nature of what happened when we moved from the office to home. I want to thank Joy for asking this. It's late, but the reason I'm up doing this tonight is that I was so excited that someone actually asked me to do something in addition to something I'd done, and for me to further expound upon that. So this one is actually about the split tunneled VPNs. I'll probably go into one about house segmentation and kind of how you should, try to strive to be at home later. But today is definitely about the split tunnel VPN, and I'm going to try to very quickly explain the difference of what the kind of choices do for you in positive negatives. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to get into my presentation, and what we're going to describe first is a non-split tunneled VPN, meaning that everything goes to the office, and everything's inspected, and then everything goes wherever it's supposed to go and is stopped wherever it's supposed to be stopped, right? So I start out with Sally down at the bottom. She has a 100 meg connection. I'm going to make this super summarized, as I said before. I'm not even going to get into asynchronous or synchronicity, but 100 megs, let's say, is available. That means the office has to have 100 in order for Sally to get her full throughput and her full experience of her web traffic as it's being inspected, which means that if there are not technical difficulties and I can actually click and then hit next, which I just did now, if there are 4 Sallys, or Sally, Tamara, I don't know, I'm committed now, Tamika, and, I don't know, a lot of T's there. I guess I just failed? Hermione? Sure. Anyways, so if they had 400 megs, that means we have to have 400 megs in order to serve the east-west traffic once it hits the firewall at the office over the VPN, and then goes over its merry way to the internet for YouTube and other standard consumption from someone on their device. So if we look at what the positive negatives are, though, what usually happens is the company only spends 200. They're in the 200 club, and that means that people suffer when they're using consumption, especially as you take that even further out. But on the positive side, if you see Mr. Virus down, I think that's Tamika down there, it's on the machine. It now is trying to spread and reach its command and control servers. But what happens is it actually gets there and realizes it can't make it to the C squared, and the hacker / threat actor, I'm sorry, Chris Roberts, the threat actor is foiled, right? And so they're unable to continue their merry way. So the positive negative is usually the users suffer because of the overhead of inspection and encapsulation and everything going out to the internet. But on a positive note, you usually have a better chance of inspecting the traffic and doing something with it, whereas later we may see that might be in the inverse. So if we bring ourselves down to a split tunnel VPN, what we actually now have is that Sally's traffic is split tunneled. It doesn't matter. The point being, we have a 10 meg connection, let's say we need from the office, and it's just consuming some documents. And like I said, summarizing, don't punch me in the face. But the point is, then now 90 goes out to the internet, and it's not having to be consumed by the office. It's not having to have overhead. It doesn't have, throughput and connection limits and all of those things. So as you see, when there's Sally, Tamika, Tamara, and Hermione, I think is our friends, they now have 10, 90, 90, 90 are all going out to the internet, but only 10, 10, 10, 10 are going up to the 40 in the consumption at the office. I think the next slide actually took the time to draw the 10s, so I apologize. But, ultimately what happens is there's enough data request capabilities to only need 40 instead of 400. So now if we take that out, what are the positive negatives? Well, the positive side would be that we now have a better, performance. Users are presented with an amazing experience. They're all happy, rejoice for their budget and value. But the challenge is now if there's a C squared and you don't have adequate investments in endpoint inspection, I'm going to put that as a big caveat. We'll go into that another time. You don't have the best baselining. You don't have those things that allow you to determine what is a trusted computing base and what are my anomalies, and you're gathering that data. Then that means C squared server often would let a threat actor in a way that they can now start enumerating, finding and getting a foothold. Thank you, Kyle Henslevin, and doing things to enumerate in over across the very VPN that you're using to protect your office network from a remote. So I want to say thank you, Joy, for challenging me to get this one done. That is my take on kind of why you'd have to make a choice one way or the other and what the positives and negatives are. If you're willing to invest in the full tunneled VPN, it is much more defensible from how we plan on doing things. But it also brings us into the conversations of SASE, secure access, secure edge, and bringing it to the point of consumption. And, we can really get into that another time. But I really appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much. Have a great night.